Matej Košnjek, nice to have you here finally on the Freedive Café. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Very good, and those conditions are distracting me all the time.
Yeah, you guys are going to be able to see hopefully just how unreal it is today.
It is.
And this is actually like getting even very slightly windy now, but before it was like a mirror here in Lighthouse Bay in Dahab. Absolutely spectacular conditions, amazing from March 18th. Yeah, amazing. We're here today to talk about training for freediving.
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell us first a little bit about your background, where you're from, your background in sports and training, and how that connects eventually to the freediving world.
Well, I was always interested in sport. I was a swimmer, a former swimmer, competitive one, till my 16 years of age. And then, of course, the activities just like continued for me. And when I started studying kinesiology, very soon I started also working as a strength and conditioning coach in the same club.
Can I just interrupt you to ask you to define a little bit what kinesiology is? Because I think it's a word that people hear a lot, but they're not quite sure exactly what it means.
Yeah, it can be maybe for some of them it's like similar than physiotherapy, let's say, but it's the main difference in that in kinesiology and physiotherapy is that kinesiologists are maybe more connected with strength, with trainings, with, let's say, after their injury. So let's say, for example, if you have the ACL injury in the knee, let's say, of course, first you need the physiotherapy, and maybe the operation and stuff like that. And then after a few weeks or so, of course, the kinesiologist also can help a lot. But for the, let's say, to bring the athlete back to sport, then the kinesiologists are having a huge role. Also, a lot of kinesiologists are connected with chronic disease, chronic kind of diseases like diabetes and all of these diseases. Yeah. So that's the main difference, I would say. So a lot of kinesiologists are working in strength conditioning field, also in injuries, but after the physiotherapy. The physiotherapists are, let's say, finishing their work. And I kind of was always interested in strength, not a lot to injuries. Of course, it comes with it. It comes with sport. I need to know some stuff, but I believe that physiotherapists are for something, kinesiologists are for something, and these two fields are amazing, and you can work a lot together. I was always interested in strength, in gym, in dryland, in movement.
So swimming was kind of like the main sport that you were involved in when you were you a swimmer yourself, competitive?
Yeah, a competitive, like for 8-10 years. And like I said, I finished when I was 16. But I don't know, I kind of always was interested in the sport. I love it. It's my first sport, it's my first choice. And this is also how I connected later with freediving. And I was always interested, like even more than 10-12 years ago, probably from the fly discipline, from the dolphin discipline, let's say. I was always interested in how it should feel to use the monofin. And of course in Slovenia, like around 2010, like it was impossible to find one, and I somehow managed to find one, of course from the fin swimmers.
Fin swimming, yeah.
And it was of course stiff as
but
I had a chance to try it, and I was always interested.
And so you were swimming up until the age of 16, then you moved into the sports science, kinesiology kind of thing you studied, and then did you become a coach relatively quickly as well?
Yeah. In the same club I was actually training. I started working with a group of swimmers, youngers, and then of course I started also working with the top level Slovenian swimmers, national team. Then I added sport massage therapy, so now I'm covering the same swimming club still. It's my home for the last 25 years. So it's not just a job, it's a passion, it's home. And of course the national team with, like I said, sport massage therapies, all the training camps, I'm covering some of them with the strength programs. I'm helping the head coach of strength and conditioning in the national team, because we are the circle of a kind of a specialists, in different fields, nutrition, physiology, some video analysis and stuff like that. So we are taking care of, let's say, the best Slovenian swimmers we have.
And how did you eventually come into playing this role in a freediving context?
I think that started when Dive Eye started filming all the dives, and when I was aware of, or somehow I just saw the technique, and I saw especially the bifins. I was always interested in bifins and let's say dolphin movement, kind of a monofin fly. I think that comes from the fly. I mean, I was a freestyler actually. I was never very good in dolphin movement and in fly disciplines, but I was just so interested how to connect the movement from dry land, how to train, and I was curious how the hell they train on dry land, because of course I always was thinking about the professional sport, because I come from professional sport, and in swimming and all these, let's say, normal random sports, everything is extremely professional. And I was like, okay, of course they're training in the water, depth, pool, probably. Of course, like 7-8 years ago, I think they like not a lot of freedivers were training in the pool. Now, thanks God, things are changing. But I was just curious if they train on dry land and how, because of the sport. I mean, it's different and it's so specific. So this is when my interest came in, and of course we have Alenka. And when I had the chance to see how this looks underwater, I was like, I'm so interested. I'm so curious. And then I just texted her. And then we met like 2018, and we started a very nice and very successful collaboration. I don't know if I can call it a collaboration, because this was way more than that. It was the synergy, friendship, and yeah, we just followed the craziness and passion we had for the process of training, not just the goals and what she can achieve as an athlete, but also we were always in a search of different systems, because it's a mysterious sport. You don't know what's working out. You have no idea. It's tricky. It's challenging. It's always on the edge, because you don't know. Because in swimming, let's say, or skiing or whatever, tennis, you have the science behind. You know what works. Of course, with some, how would I say it? Of course, sometimes you can screw up things, but in freediving, it's like, okay, let's try and let's see what happens. So we just need to trust what you believe. And yeah, she just followed my crazy ideas, and we could spend hours in the pool, in the gym. So yeah, this is how we started.
Yeah. And now the deepest woman in the world in self-propelled disciplines. So that's obviously the work paid off.
So yeah, once we started, like, of course, everything changed for me, because finally I got the possibility and to bring my ideas out. Yeah, because everything was just in my head, and the ideas, the desires, and how we should connect that, and how to change the movement in a more efficient way. So yeah, also I landed to this amazing client of Sinai because of that. And so yeah, I'm extremely grateful for that possibility to express my work and ideas, like I said. So
yeah, and you've been here a few times now. You've been doing some workshops. You've been spreading your your principles and ideas about training for freediving, which is something that is definitely a growing aspect of freediving. Training more from the from an athletic or sports science kind of viewpoint, but is a kind of a new thing still in freediving if we look at the grand scheme of things. So very exciting to have you come and tell us, about some of these training concepts that might be most useful to freedivers. First of all, like when we say training, what does it mean to train actually? Because some people have training could mean a lot of different things, but for us, what does it mean?
Yeah, training is like, it's a huge word, and also, yeah, like you said, it's very wide how we use it. And like I said, I'm coming from a professional sport, so training means a training session. Training for me, it's not like, I don't know, it's not training always when we perform the activity.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, training is once you start following the plan, once you start following some of kind of a periodization, once you set the goals for you, even if you're something like a recreational kind of an athlete or whatever. I mean, I'm not a professional in terms of being an athlete, but I still have goals for my life, how fit I want to be. So it's a plan. It doesn't mean that you need weekly plan, that you need to follow all these sessions. But for me, training is once we are organized, we are disciplined, and we are consistent. That's how I would how I would express the word training.
Yeah. I think what you said there about having a goal is like a really crucial point, because if you don't have a goal, then you can't really start to move towards it, right?
Yeah, for me it means even more, because just having a goal, maybe that it's not enough. Maybe we need a goal that it's meaningful to us, because just in that case we can follow also the discipline, because we have to know that once it comes to training in a professional way, it's hard. And it's always on the edge, and it's challenging, and it's demanding on the body, and we are tired, and we don't want to do it, and we need to show up. So it's not the motivation always. For me, the goal, if we just have the goal with the, let's say, certain number in our head, in freediving, in whatever, cycling, tennis, running, of course, maybe it's enough. But if we don't enjoy the process and we don't have time, then it's hard. Then it's hard.
When freediving, for me, is undoubtedly the most unique sport in the world.
Yeah.
And from your point of view, what are the most unique aspects of training for freediving compared to other sports, if there are?
I think the most unique in freediving is, and what I find the most challenging part, it's the schedule and how to connect all the dots. Because I think that in freediving, what maybe I can compare with swimming is the movement, of course, and the technique. And at the end of the day, freedivers are swimmers, because we need to somehow move ourselves in an efficient way in the water, in the harmony of water, because if we fight with it, forget it. So at the end of the day, we are swimmers, but we need to train a lot in depth because of the adaptation and all this stuff. And then, of course, I strongly believe, I'm a 100% believer that gym is crucial. That's like from the beginning when I started thinking about that. And I know that it's still a bit of a, no, I don't want to do it. I'm going to get bulky. I will consume more energy because of that, more oxygen and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, but you'll move in a more efficient way. But of course, it's challenging how to plan that. And then we have the pool, which I believe 100% in it. And we need to perform a lot of drills in the pool. So that's probably the most unique aspect of freediving, and also work, because it's not a professional sport in terms of financial support, in terms of everything. Yeah. So that's probably the most challenging part, how to combine, how to find a way, how to stick with the plan. Yeah.
When you now coming into the freediving community, especially in a place like Dahab, you get to meet a lot of freedivers, and sort of like not just recreational fun diver type of freedivers, but those divers who aspire to be deep divers of all levels, from 20 meters to 100 meters. So you see a lot of people who are training, but perhaps maybe not in the most efficient way, not through any fault of their own, but for most people who are not exposed to sports science and training for sport, there's just a lot of stuff that you won't get initially. So what are the most common missteps made in training for freediving?
First, not setting up the goal, and not even deciding what do you want, what's your priority, and maybe just train in the way that someone else is training because you think that works for you. Because one size does not fit all. That's a big quote I believe in. And I think that's the main problem, that, okay, if I don't know, you're training in your certain way, that doesn't mean that that works for me, because we are extremely different as individuals. And that's probably the most common mistake. Okay, yeah, tell me how your athlete is working out, how your athlete is training, and yeah, can we just do the same? I mean, come on. We have different backgrounds. We have different experiences from the past. We have different experiences from the background we are coming from. Maybe we have like literally no experiences from sport. So that's what I would say. It's the most common mistake, if I can call it mistake, maybe misstep. It's a better word, like you said. And then also not having knowledge and not asking for help. Because now, so I'm in the sport for the last, let's say, 6-7 years, and thanks God it's developing, and thanks God now you have more information, you have more specialists in all the fields. And I think the problem is that we want to figure out everything on ourselves. That's the problem. And then we are losing time and we're wasting our time. And then we're just training. And then we are not even aware of how burnout we are, or how the system is maybe not working for us. So we are not listening enough to our body. We are not listening. We are just listening to, let's say, for all the informations around us. And then we just copy that kind of a training, and it's not working for us, and we're just like still in that, and it's so hard to step out. So that's the main part. And then also not connecting, or maybe not thinking about what our weaknesses are. So I believe that we should start training first what our weaknesses are. That's why I said what are the priorities. So if you have the list of priorities, like, okay, my biting kick, it's uneven front versus back, maybe I should start with that because this is stopping me. I don't know, maybe it's the EQ, maybe it's the, I don't know, my hamstrings or glutes or my backline is extremely weak, so I need to first gain some strength there. So if you have the lists of weaknesses, our flaws, that's the first thing we need to start doing. It's not about what we like normally, it's about what we need. And we all train, that's a common mistake, we all train for the things we like.
Yeah.
But normally we are good in these things.
Yeah.
We are good enough. Of course we can perform better, but
yeah, I mean it's a fine balance, because also a lot of free divers are aspiring to go deeper, and they may have some goals in depth. They may have aspirations for national records and things like that. But a huge part of this sport, this activity, and this lifestyle is also about the pleasure that we get from it. And it can be hard to reconcile that, you know, if maybe you've reached a certain level and you may want to go to the next level, but when you start to look at how, let's say, in quotes, real athletes train, there's a lot of sessions that are not going to be necessarily what you really want to do or enjoy, and you may also have to show up when you're tired and your muscles are sore and you're underslept and still do the session. And finding a balance there between pleasure and discipline is tricky, right?
yeah, and that's why I talk about the discipline a lot more than motivation, because motivation, of course, we need motivation, but if we are enjoying what we're doing, if we have joy, if that brings us joy, fulfillment, meaningfulness, whatever, you name it, that motivation, it's not a problem. Never. I mean, if you have to know, once the motivation can become a problem, it's when we are on the top level, when we reach the plateau. But sorry, that's very hard to achieve. So we need to stay in the sport for like a lot of years. When we reach the plateau and when we are not, let's say, improving anymore, then the motivation can become a problem. Till then, it's just the discipline. It's just the consistency. And why maybe the freediving is also very unique, because it always gives us pleasure. Because it's not a professional sport, we know why. I mean, it is for some of them, but we know that in general, they're working, they need to manage all the schedules with work, families, and then the freediving. But in the end of the day, it gives us pleasure. So it's just about the discipline, right? And what we want actually to achieve.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably come back a little bit later on in the interview to address, issues like motivation and discipline, and also coming from the perspective of coaches and instructors, and how we can we can help the athletes there. Let's move on to the topic of periodization, because the principle of periodization is very important for those freedivers who are kind of like thinking about moving up a step, and especially if they are preparing for a competition or some other kind of event. Many listeners may actually not even really, I mean, I know I didn't know what periodization was 7 years ago when I started doing this podcast. I had to figure that out. So just what is periodization, basically?
So actually the periodization starts when, like you said, when you plan the competition in your calendar. So let's say we have our peak competition in May, let's say, for example. And if we start thinking about it in September, we need to set up the plan. And once we set up the plan of trainings, like monthly first, then weekly, and then daily, that's the periodization. So we have a longer periodization, we have shorter periodization. So it's like a micro kind of a thing. And this is when the periodization starts with the plan. Okay, I'm gonna compete in May in whatever place, and I would like to perform, or I would like to compete in 2-3 disciplines. How can I start with my process of training till then? That's the periodization. And it's such a mystery in freediving. It's so hard to say, yeah, do that and you'll accomplish whatever you want, because it's changing all the time.
But the idea is that you're going to focus, you're going to put more weight and attention in some areas for a certain period of time before switching the attention to other areas at other periods of time, and finding the balance here and the flow on how to move from focus to focus is the mystery part, right? It's not maybe not a mystery for you, but definitely for a lot of us.
Yeah, it's always a mystery because we are also changing. Yeah, we are older. Then we have the gender differences. Then of course we have life. Yeah. And so, it's a mystery. Why? Because, like I said before, swimming is a random sport. Yeah. I mean, random, it's maybe a bit not the right word for that, but we have science. Yeah. We know how to train for like 50 freestyler, for like 200 freestyler, whatever. But in freediving, like you said, you need to find the balance. But if you have a clear idea of how, let's say, the next 8 months will look like, then everything is way easier. And if you can stick with that, of course you can find the balance with all the sessions you need to do. But first thing is that you need to sit down and need to prepare the lists of your priorities, what needs to be improved. And then slowly, you set up, let's say, a weekly plan, how you'll start, monthly, then weekly, and then you just kind of combine all the things and all the sessions till the competition, of course. And now the big question is when to do something, how much, how intense, with how much volume, when to decrease volume, when to decrease volume, and so we can talk about that a bit with the example.
So let's just to make it really nice for the listeners to understand about periodization, let's make the example specific. If you were talking about, you heard about a competition. The competition is taking place in May, so you essentially have 8 months or so of preparation. Let's say we're going to look at 3 months out from the competition, and the period before that, the weeks or months before that would be considered like the base training phase, right? Yeah. So what does it mean, base training or off-season phase? What do we do at that time?
Yeah, so first we need to look at our possibilities. Of course, now, it's a difference if we are talking about the pool or depth competition, but still. And the next thing is also, let's say that we can start in September, so because the first question is when we finish with the last season, so let's say that we finished in September and that we are ready to go in October. So what I would do first, in general, like with all individuals, like definitely if you are out of depth for, let's say, October, November, December, if you don't have a chance, let's take that for example, you don't have a chance to train in the ocean, you have a chance of the pool, so you can do some CO2, O2, breath hold kind of sessions, of course, surface drills. So you have the pool, you have the gym for the base. And I would, in an optimum kind of a way, I would take 3 months, which is 12 weeks. So we always kind of a plan 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and so on and so on. And if we can take 12 weeks into the base training, that would be amazing. Because for the gym, it really depends also for the gym when we finished with the last season. But if we had a competition in September, then probably we didn't do any gym for at least for a month or maybe even more. So we need to adapt first on the strength, which means that for at least for the base, for the gym, of course, in 8 weeks, you can do a lot. You can do a lot, but in 12, the results are even bigger, because for the first 2-3 weeks, we need a strength adaptation. So we need to adapt on strength, because what I also believe is that we need to lift heavy. Yeah, we need to lift heavy. Of course, we can start with some body weight, circuit kind of ways of training systems, but the body adapts on that quite fast. So we need impulses all the time. We need to give to the body like move, work. The muscles are lazy. So okay, now that's easy. Let's do the circuit kind of weight and exercises maybe for a week. But come on, especially in women, mid-age, we need to lift heavy. Of course, we need to be aware of how demanding it is to the nervous system. But again, we need to lift heavy to develop the muscle. And also we need to kind of think how the execution will be. We need to execute all the sessions and all the exercises intentionally and being super present. So that's why we need 12 weeks of that. At least 16 would be even better. But I'm not ending the gym and I'm not finishing the gym for quite a long period. Of course, if you have a chance, even if you would move after 3 months to a place like that, if you have the access to the gym, I will definitely continue with the gym. But if we can increase the volume of gym for like 3, even maybe 4 sessions for some of them, it really depends what works for you. Because for some of them, in swimming is the same. You need to be careful how the body reacts on that. And in that 12 weeks, you can realize how your body is reacting on the strength training. So you still have a lot of time if you maybe trained too much or maybe not enough. So that would be the start. And of course, I believe that all the CO2, O2, breath hold, apnea, pool sessions are very, very beneficial and a huge contribution for later to depth. And of course also surface drills. I mean, this is the period when you have time to perform surface drills for bifins, monofin, no fins, a lot of trainings, also the intensity, the endurance, aerobic capacity. And if we can develop our aerobic, anaerobic capacity in the pool, in our element, which is water, that's amazing. Of course we can have some bicycles, bike rides, running, of course, if you love that. But that's, for me, that's like a soul food. It's not, because it's aerobic, of course. We need that. We need soul food. And in general, spend as much time in the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for that base training, a heavy focus on strength training and conditioning of the body, getting it ready for what is going to come in that 3 months before we have the competition. But you will still run, if possible, the strength training to some degree into the 3-month period.
Definitely, yeah, because we built resilience also with doing strength. It's not just about, of course, gaining strength in the muscles. Yeah, it's also building resilience to stress. Yeah, it's also we build also, it's a mental part. So when we start, let's say, when we turn in a certain depth, it doesn't matter. We need, I mean, all the hard work starts when we start coming up, right? Yeah. So, and it's hard. But it's way easier if your brains and if your mind is used to that feeling. Okay, it's hard. I feel my legs. Maybe am I lactic? No, am I not? Or I don't know what's going on. And you just do it like bam, 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 bam. You can switch off all those thoughts. That's why it's not just about the strength. It's not just about the surface drills and technique and blah, blah, blah. It's about resilience. And we are building the resilience to stress. So yeah, of course, gym, of course, maybe with less volume. So once we move, let's say, to Dahab, to Dominica, to Pangla, or wherever, you name it, yeah, we continue. We continue.
But of course, if you were just to abruptly stop all strength training 3 months before you started diving, by the time you got to the competition, you would have disappeared into nothingness, right?
It's like gone. All the work, all the hard work. But yeah, you need to adjust. You need to adjust because then the depth is the priority.
Yes.
Yeah, and always in freediving, the same in swimming, water is the priority. That's your what you should aim for. Pool or depth or whatever you have a chance, and then you combine the gym. So always depth, water kind of sessions. That's the priority.
Okay, so now we come to 3 months out from the competition.
Yeah.
And let's just say that we're here in Dahab, okay? So you know what we have available to us in Dahab. We can literally...
More and more.
You can probably see on one of the cameras people out there in the furthest distance, 50 meters of depth, just a couple of 100 meters from the shore, and then a few kilometers up the road we have the blue hole where we have almost 100 meters, so pretty good. Also some gym facilities and pool facilities, so we got it all here. So what are we going to do for these 3 months?
Everything.
Boom, let's go.
Bam. Yeah, so if you don't work as a instructor or coach, freediving coach, if you can focus only on you, on the competition, then let's say we have January, February, March, April, and let's say we have the comp in May, like it's now, it's like in May when, like 10th in Blue Hole. So we still have 4 months, which is a lot. That's a lot. So if we can focus only on that, I would definitely stay. And by the way, this is not science. This is me talking about what I'm working with my athletes and how am I mixing and combining all the things I can and how I experience the results. So we don't have any researchers around that yet. Let's see. But I would definitely stick with gym 2 times per week, definitely, for the next 3 months. And of course, the volume will adjust, of course, the intensity, and we have some recovery weeks in between, but yeah, that's another story. And then the pool surface, you have 2 pools, 2 amazing pools. Of course, canyon, it's a bit cold still, but come on. You can do it. And then, of course, I mean, this is awesome. So you have quite of a different possibilities here. So yeah, that's the only question is how to schedule everything, right? And how to combine. That's probably the most common question I get. Okay, but when can I go to the gym if I'm diving? Yeah, so always gym, always maybe not a day before you go diving, or if you have, let's say, 3-4 sessions per week only diving, that's the priority, like I said. Then the next priority, if you're doing it, of course, it's the apnea in the pool. Surface drills can be intense, of course, because I combine also some intervals, because I also believe in high intensity intervals, like sprint intervals, not always continuously aerobic kind of activities. It's also fine because of the aerobic capacity, but that's more like in base. Gym always before the free day, let's say, or something which is not very demanding the next day, but if you are used to the gym, if you're adapted, then that shouldn't be a problem anymore. The problem is if you're not consistent. The problem is if you don't train, and then you go to the gym once, and then maybe twice, and then maybe 3 times, and then you're sore.
I think that is one of the most common missteps, is that people think, okay, I'm going to start strength training. They maybe get under a barbell for the first time, and then 2 days later they can't walk anymore. And then maybe they manage to get through the 2 or 3 sessions in the first week or 10 days, and it's still really sore, and then like the thought of going to the pool or going to depth is like killing them. But they gotta stick it out, right? Because at some point the body realizes the adaptation comes, and then you're still gonna get sore to a certain extent from a workout, but you could then still pull off a pool session or a run or something else, because you just get adapted, and that's just there's just science and physics involved in that.
And the recovery is faster. When we are adapted, the recovery is faster. And like you said, I mean, of course, they start training in the gym. That's maybe a common mistake or misstep in freediving, not just in freediving, in general in life, because I'm also coaching people like from just maybe cycling or running or whatever. We start. Let's say the starting point is from nothing. We start too heavy.
Too
we
heavy,
start too
yeah.
intense, and then we blame it on the gym.
Mhm.
Yeah, because then we blame it on the gym because we killed our legs with some back squats or whatever, split squats, and then we can't dive, and then the gym is the problem. No,
Yep.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
not the problem. The consistency.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe you also agree with this that sometimes when I hear people talk about how they get tired or they get sick or they don't feel like training, and then they say something like, "Oh, I think I'm overtraining." Often, I think that they're in that situation where they've
Yeah.
just started. They've maybe done 2 weeks in the gym and. They still haven't allowed the adaptation to take place, and it's not really overtraining. It's just that they're still in that adaptation phase.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and some inflammation, of course, because inflammation comes after especially after gym and stuff like that, of course, and it's good. It's good, but yeah, we need to. That's why we need to also consider some recovery weeks. But yeah, that's body awareness. I would call that body awareness. Of course, we are tired. Definitely, and we can feel sore, and like you said, but patient. Yeah, we need to do it patiently. It's not a short run; it's a long run. And if we are enjoying that sport, if we are enjoying what we do, it's a long run. Yeah, patiently. We need to do it patiently. Nothing happens in 2 weeks. I mean, come on, competitive or let's say professional athletes, they are training for 10-second run on 100 meter. They're training for that for one event. They're training for that years for fucking 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Or freestylers, let's say for 19 seconds, long course, 53. They're training for that for 8, 12, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So our sport is actually, I mean, we can perform the dives for for minutes. So
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
we're training for
It's
minutes.
a very long performance. Yes.
Yeah, so it's worth it.
So in that 2 or 3 months before the competition, like how are you going to balance, or we would say like way towards strength, way towards aerobic, anaerobic pool depth? What changes during that time?
Oof, that's very individual. The closer we are to the competition, the more we need to be aware of what's going on, how we react, how our body reacts on the gym. But like we discussed already, if we are adapted, that shouldn't be a problem. If we are consistent, all is fine. But it's more like a weekly. And then, of course, we need to talk about the gender differences.
Maybe you can bring a little bit of that in now.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope we don't get cancelled for talking about gender, because I think that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is that the more we are close to the competition, like I said, the more we need to adjust. So the closer we are, the more I do it weekly. So if we talked about, let's say from the start, we do it monthly, like for 3 months, because we have time. And of course, depth is more important and more important and more important as we get closer. So I would normally adjust weekly. I would adjust. Maybe it can also happen that maybe I would skip the gym maybe sometimes. Of course, now why I said gender, because we have period. Yeah, you guys, for you, it's in some ways it's easier in the terms of that, of training. Maybe for some things it's not. But of course we have a period, so that's the first thing that's my only focus. If I coach women, period is the first thing I track, the first thing, because we need to adjust the intensity, the volume in terms of how the progesterone and estrogen, because it's a huge role with these hormones. So that's the first thing we need to adjust, and also then we need to, depth is the priority, and the gym is just like swinging around.
So for any of the girls who are listening right now, if you could, because you were mentioning before about how few girls track or pay attention to their periods, And if you just give a little bit of advice on the main points of like what you have to look out for with that, what would it be?
Yes.
Hey guys, let me just interrupt the interview for 1 minute to tell you about something very special going on this year. After 5 years in development, I am delighted to announce that the first Living Freediving Retreat will take place in Dahab, Egypt, in October 2025. This 7-day retreat's content is basically the culmination of my entire freediving journey so far as educator, athlete, and lover of freediving. The goal is to share the discipline and practice of freediving, not just as a recreational activity, but as a way of life and a vehicle for deep personal transformation. During this retreat, you will get an intensive course of training in all aspects of freediving and complementary practices such as traditional yoga, deep relaxation, and meditation. We're not only going to do these complementary practices every day, but you're going to learn them properly in such a way that you can take them with you and incorporate them into your own freediving lifestyle. I'm beyond excited that this event is finally taking place. It's been 5 years in the making. I put my heart and soul into designing the best experience possible for the guests. The accommodation is amazing, the content is amazing, the water will be fantastic, and we'll have an incredible week together living the freediving lifestyle. If you want to get more in-depth information and sign up, head over to truedepthfreediving.com/retreat and take it from there. All right, let's get back to the episode. What would it be?
Yeah, so we have 2 phases. Yeah, we have 2 phases in the period. We have the first phase, which is till the ovulation. So it's a follicular phase. And then we have the luteal phase, which is from the ovulation to the first day of the period. And we have, of course, 2 hormones playing a big role, the progesterone and estrogen. So once our period starts, which is on day 1, the estrogen starts increasing slowly till the ovulation, which is around 14, 15 days. It really depends. That's so individual. And of course, then it's a menopause. But yeah, that's another story. But let's say that we are still before the perimenopause. And with the estrogen increasing, also the energy level increased. Yeah, it's increasing. And that's maybe the time when we can hit more like high intensity workouts, yeah? And then when the estrogen drops, progesterone slowly start increasing. And this is maybe a time for like longer aerobic kind of a workout activities, circuits to calm down a bit. And then when both hormones drop, and this is before period, a few days before period, like 4 or 5, it depends. But this is the time when we stop a bit. Yeah, when we decrease the volume, when we decrease the intensity, when we focus more on a maybe technique, stretching, gentle kind of a workouts. Let's say that's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea from the theory, and it works because I tried it on myself, like everything. But of course, we have life, and our period is not always on the 28th day or 27 on 25th or whatever. But this is what you can follow, especially the last days before the period. I would say that's the most important thing, to stop a bit, because we can not destroy our system and our body, but yeah, we can actually we can create some damage, especially if we train too hard in certain kind of a periods in a month. This is maybe, the first thing I would track is period. And I do track my period, and I track all the periods of my athletes, all of them, because it's important. So that's the main difference in men and women. So I am always tracking that, especially the closer we get to the competition. And then we just, it's just fun. It's just fun, and you just need to adjust weekly. You need to track your athletes all the time.
I think it's important to point out that you are not coaching or programming apnea sessions, depth sessions, specifically what people are gonna be doing, and that is, in any case, that's a very tricky thing for any coach, because I can't tell someone tomorrow, okay, you're gonna do 75 meters in free immersion, and then the next day you're gonna do 78, because if you turn early on the 75, most likely if you turn deep enough, you're not gonna be able to just do the dive again, depending on your level. So that's a whole different kettle of fish, as we say.
Yeah.
But looking at let's say a week, you know, and knowing that this athlete has, let's say, 4 depth sessions planned, how can we structure a week roughly around those 4 depth sessions? Let's say they're doing 2 days on, a day off, and 3 days on and a day off.
So let's say, like you said, they're doing 2 days on depth, let's say Monday, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And then Wednesday off.
Yeah, exactly.
Then Tuesday afternoon would be a gym, let's say. And then you said Thursday, Friday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday on.
Saturday.
Right.
Gym.
Right.
And then you have Sunday off. That's perfect because we can we can recover. Also, our nervous system can come down a bit. So always after the last. Yeah, it's. I mean, of course, for some of them it's not a problem. Yeah, because it's so individual. But I wouldn't perform a strong, heavy gym before diving, especially for long dives.
Yeah.
Especially for long dives. I mean, yeah, in some cases, yeah, but I mean, you need to try. Yeah, freediving is like full of, let's try that. So
I'm just thinking, like, don't look at my schedule because you'll just lose your shit.
You did your gym today, right?
No, yeah. Well, if you see like what I have programmed, and I mean, a day off for me is a kind of something that I will have one day. It's but not right now.
And how's your schedule at the moment?
I can't show you. I don't.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can tell me.
No.
You don't need to show me.
Should we have a quick look at my schedule?
Yeah, come on, let's have it for the example.
Okay.
Maybe you're not the only one having exactly
well,
the same schedule.
What's important to bear in mind here is that I'm also basically coaching full time as well, and I'm in the water
you
full
see? But
time.
that's a good topic, actually.
So
you're not the only one doing that.
So if we look, okay. Well, let's say the last week on Monday, I did strength training in the afternoon, and I coached in the morning.
Okay.
Then the next day, I dove deep at the blue hole.
And how was it?
This day it was actually the best dive I ever had in my life. But this was maybe about strength training session number 6 in a cycle. So by this point, I'm recovering quite quickly from this.
And you're
strength training
consistent
session.
in the gym.
Yeah, very consistent.
Yeah.
Then the next day I did some dry training, I coached, and then I did a run. And then on Thursday I had a full day off, which is I almost never have. Then on the Friday I did depth in the blue hole, and I did strength later. And then the next day I only did dry training and coaching. So yeah, I mean
fine.
the coaching. So this is actually looking not bad. Maybe that's why it's working. And then on Sunday,
Exactly.
Sunday I did coaching in the morning, and I sprinted in the evening time. So.
Yeah.
You know, ideally these coaching sessions just wouldn't be here, but I am trying to put them in a place where I'm not doing. Yesterday I had a silly schedule where or the day before I was going to end up doing depth, strength, running, and coaching all in the same day. And
how?
That was.
When did you wake up? Like 5?
I wake up like 4:30. Yeah. And the first part of the morning, every morning, I'm doing yoga as well.
Yeah.
I'm doing like my morning practices. Not really what I consider part of my training, but it's a daily thing for me. I adjust the intensity of that depending on what I'm doing. But so far it seems to be working. But if I was able to remove the coaching sessions, that would be ideal.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You said that last Monday you performed a strength training, and then the next day diving in the blue hole, and you find it cool and nice and, let's say, accomplished. And I would just say that whatever we choose, whatever schedule it works for us, first is that we need to try, and we need to give us time. Yeah, we need to perform that for a certain time, and we need to track not just the schedule but how we feel. Yes, something is HRV, something is resting heart rate, like numbers. Cool, of course we need to follow numbers because numbers are important, but we need to listen to the body also, because the body always will tell us more than the number itself. So if we feel good, fuck the watch, fuck the HRV, fuck the resting heart rate. Yeah, it's a bit higher than yesterday, but if we feel good, if we feel like, let's do that, do it. But ask your body, how do you feel today? Can we do that? Is the time to hit maybe the PB? Is the time maybe I don't know, you'll feel. That's why I'm using the RPE scale for everything. RPE scale is the rate of perceived exertion, and it's the scale from 1 to 10. 1 means, let's say now when we are sitting here and chatting and having some fun. 10 in gym, it's 1 RM. 1 repetition max. So back squat, 100 kilo on the barbell, just 1. So I'm able to do 1 rep, that's 10. So I always use the RP scale. Why? Because first, I don't see my athletes every day because we are doing it remotely. Maybe I don't even know them that well, especially in the beginning when we start. And when we start with the first 4 weeks program, I have no idea how much they can lift. So I would never prescribe them okay, you can do the goblet squat with 10 kilos. I have no idea how hard that is for you. But if I give them the idea of do it on the scale 7, RP 7, which in theory means that you're still able to perform 3 reps in reserve, that's it. But you need to be honest with yourself. And RP, why I love RPE is because our weeks, we can just adjust our weeks because, okay, we plan the intensity, and the intensity for our body is different in weeks. That's especially important for the last, let's say, 3-4 months before the competition. Because maybe today, for me, the barbell back squat, 80 kilos, 10 reps, it's not the same RPE than the next week because, like you said, maybe you performed a massive dive to 80 meters in blue hole, and then the next day, your RPE, because you're shattered, so your next day, your RPE 8 is maybe 50 kilos, but we are tracking the intensity because we need intensity, and if we plan the intensity first, everything around then can play.
So from a session-to-session basis, this perceived exertion is really important.
Really important,
Would you also say that, still over a longer period of time, we need to see heavier lifts, progressive overload successfully? What you said is about that is super clear to me. But I think some people, what they do is if they're, let's say, listening to their body, and today I feel like crap, so I'm not going to do my workout later. But in order to, you really have to show up for the workout first to find out how you feel, right?
Exactly. We have the RPE for intensity in terms of weight or load, if you are talking about the gym or the pool. And then we have the mental RPE.
That's the biggest challenge.
So we have the mental RPE. Of course, I feel like shit today. I wake up, like, not today, but let's say we have the example. Okay, I woke up like completely, I don't want to do that session, I'm tired, blah, 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 maybe something else, it's coming out, blah, 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 blah. Okay, all this overthinking, and I don't want to do my gym because I don't like it. No, not today. And then I show up, I somehow lift my ass, and I go to the gym. And if we can give us like 10 minutes, so we start, and if we try for the first 10 minutes, and if our, let's say my mental RP is 1 or maybe 0, if the RP, the mental RP can increase till at least 4 or 5, then we are ready to go. If not, go home. Maybe it's not the day.
I love that. That's an amazing piece of advice because that's usually how it is, right? Things
normally
change.
Normally we, because the dopamine kicks
and
in.
The neurotransmitters and hormones get activated.
Maybe even maybe you'll just meet a friend on the road. And you'll and I don't know, maybe you'll just one impulse can help, and your RP, the mental RP, can increase to like 6, 7, 8, and then maybe you'll finish your day with the best session ever. But of course we need to be honest with that, because we are lying to ourselves all the time with bullshit stories. So but sometimes it's also like it stays on RPE 1, and if you don't feel like it, stop. Stop. If you don't feel like it, I just last week happened that to one of my athletes. She was like, you know what, I stopped, I can't do it. And I was like, good, forget it.
All right, so at some point before the competition, we're not going to have these fully loaded weeks of training right up until the first dive of the competition. At some point, we're going to pull back, and I think the term is deload
exactly.
or something like this, leading up to the competition. What sort of time frame do you have for deloading, and how would it look?
Yeah, so again, for some of them, they stop with gym quite early. And then, I mean, with gym, meaning going to the gym, proper gym, and lift some weights. Yeah, and then you can just continue maybe with easier body weight kind of a circuits at home or maybe in the gym if you prefer, just to maintain. Yeah, this is one option. Of course, again, you need to try. You need to survive the season. You need to see if this works for you. You need to write down some feelings, some sensations, some outcomes. For some of them, and I have all the different ones. For some of them, I am sure that we will perform the gym till 2-3 weeks before the competition, and then I will switch it off. Also for the pool, let's say, now just the Bristol UK National Championships was heading last weekend in mid-March. The beginning of March. With one of them, I stopped 2 weeks before, and it was perfect. Yeah, but it's tricky always because you never know. You never know how the athlete will react on that. But for depth, like I said, for some of them, they like to lift heavy till 2-3 weeks before the comp. And then we stop. Then we do the deload, like you said. We decrease the volume, the intensity in the gym. We stop completely. And then, of course, you need to rest more and more and more. And also all the volume. With volume, I mean how many sessions we have per week. So we have volumes in the gym. Let's say we have volume of 4 sessions in depth. We have volume of 3 sessions or let's say 2 sessions in the gym and 2 sessions with the surface drills. So we have 8 different sessions in the week. So we start decreasing that volume, everything. We just start to actually switch off all these sessions.
Sorry, when you say decrease the volume, do you mean remove the sessions?
Sessions, yeah. We stop. The volume means that we actually, we switch off all the things we are doing. We just stop with that. And that's it, actually. Yeah, and then for the last 2 weeks, I would definitely stop with gym, if not even 3. And of course, again, it really depends what the goals are, what the depth is. Of course, it's a difference between 40 and 100. Yeah, and again, one size does not fit all, so it's so hard to say. But yeah, in general, I would do it like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but surface drills, we can still do it. Easier technique, only technique. That it's easy. It's not hard for the heart rate. It's not hard.
It can almost be like an active recovery if you're doing something like surface drills, right?
Of course, if you like I call that soul food. Some activities which gives you peace, which gives you joy, which brings you, I don't know, whatever. Of course, you can do that. Of course. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so we've arrived at the competition. And we're well trained. We're in excellent shape. We feel good mentally, physically. Now we're going to drill into the specific disciplines of freediving a little bit, one by one. Okay, cool. And we're just going to focus on depth here. Yeah. But we'll also have some word about the differences between depth and pool for these disciplines at the end. And if you guys are listening to the audio version of this podcast, as Thea and I go through discussing these technique issues and specific exercises, we're actually going to have on the video version some examples. We're going to be filming some of the exercises so that you can actually see them on the video version. So we'll explain them nicely here on the audio version, but if you want to see them, go to the True Depth Freediving YouTube channel where this episode will be uploaded in its video form. And you can also see some of these amazing images from Dahab and Lighthouse Bay and the amazing conditions that we have here today. It's unreal, yeah. We got maybe 15 freediving boys out there at all depths. Everyone looks super happy.
And we're not, because We're not in the water.
Well,
Come on, we're having fun.
I was there yesterday.
Yeah,
I was loving it. Yeah. Okay, so free immersion. So for each of the disciplines, we're going to look at common technique issues and how to fix them with specific exercises. So what about free immersion springs to mind for you first?
I can't believe that we are starting with free immersion.
Got to start somewhere.
No, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Then we move to no fins, so it's priority, right?
Okay, well, I mean, you can choose the.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Actually, I like free immersion. But yeah, let's start with free immersion.
What have you got
it's
against
fine.
free immersion?
No. It's okay. It's okay.
okay.
I'm more and more interested actually
in
free immersion.
Free immersion person here.
I mean, I never liked it actually for myself. Okay, I'm not a freediver myself.
Mhm.
I like to stay the brain behind.
Mhm.
Of course, I am curious and I'm tapping into that energy of going a bit deeper, maybe again.
Right. It's the furthest away from swimming that we have, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the free immersion, it's maybe more interesting now for me because of Ruth Osborne, and thanks to you, because I'm coaching her and she's a free immersion enthusiast.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, of course, we need a lot of pool exercises and all this stuff. And somehow now I'm finding this discipline very interesting.
Mhm. Good.
Who
You're
am
coming
I?
around to it.
I mean, Bifins, passionate
Watch the microphone.
extremists.
Watch
Free immersion. It's not just about pooling anymore for me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
good.
free immersion was just about pooling, and I was like, why would you just pull yourself if you
Yeah.
can swim? I mean, yeah, I was a swimmer.
Mhm.
So free immersion, what I would suggest first, it's and what I found actually in the last months, it's not just about the pooling anymore. It's about the connection also when you pull, and also how to engage and how to connect with the side part of the core and also the whole part of the core. Because core for me are not just abs. It's from here, also the shoulders, how to stabilize the core, the back, and the glutes. Yeah. So how to actually transfer that strength? Yeah, because the second question for me it's always how to transfer the dry land strength to the sea, to the ocean, to the pool, and how to use all the body for the pull. Yeah, because it's not just the pull. Because if you go very specific, the pull comes from the lat muscle, latissimus dorsi muscle activation. Yeah, but it's not just that. Of course, we have different techniques, like in no fins, like in bifins, we're not the same. But what I would aim for in free immersion is always complete range of motion. Yeah, it's very similar with no fins, but we can talk about that a bit later. So for free immersion, we always need to reach high, yeah, because we can start the pulling from here, or we can extend ourselves high, and we will just activate more muscles. Yeah, that's the main goal. So how to do that? To perform as many as possible different exercises, also with bands. If you don't have the access to the pulley systems in the gym, maybe to pull-ups, barbell, or stuff like that, with bands you can do a lot. Yeah, but it's always very important, complete range of motion, a lot of pulling, different kind of pulling exercises. Of course, the lat pull, the seated row, the narrow grip, kind of a biceps pull. But we will show a few, right? And then the next thing would be how to rotate and how to communicate from the mind and to the core. And when we start the pull with the elbow down, how to activate the lat and how to finish it with the triceps extension. Of course, we can use the core. Yeah, so for that, it's very important that we perform a lot of dynamic side core exercises with a lot of rotations. And some of them, they are using a little kick at the end, right? A little flip. So that's what I would suggest for free immersion. And the most common mistake is, of course, not pulling from the highest point. That's what I see.
Do you have anything to say about a pulling style? There's a lot of different ways to move the hand, for example, from the side of the body up past the ear to the line. like the most common mistake I see people make is swinging their hand up in
yeah.
front of them
Creating a
and
drag.
or putting their hands around the rope and then moving the hand up the rope and things like this. I guess when we come to talk about no fins and bringing the hand up and loading, it's the same principle, right, of streamlining.
Yeah, and staying close to the body. Staying close to the body, relax, because the same second, like you said, the same second we start returning our hands and arms away from us, we are creating the drag. Especially in the pool for no fins, let's say. But no fins, it's like, of course, the most technical discipline, and it's a huge difference in pool and depth. But like you said, it's close to the body, of course, relaxed. Yeah,
it's interesting what you say to coming around to free immersion, because also in my case, I never really had I always thought, okay, free immersion's easy, you pull up, you pull down. But as I got deeper, as you get deeper in free immersion, that means you got to come back up. Exactly. And it's a slow dive. And then you start to notice all the tiny little resistances of the water where your hands are. And if you turn your hand a little bit the wrong way and catch too much water, it can get into your head because you start thinking you're slowing down. So streamlining, swimming technique is all still extremely important for free immersion, right?
I mean, it's extremely important, like you said, because it's a slow dive and you can lose seconds. And we know that 3, 4, 5 seconds are important at the end of the dive. So, once you start losing that technique and that efficiency, oh my God, you just accumulate the seconds and you're losing it. So, it's important. It's very important.
When I look at deep free immersion divers, I see in my mind, I see two basic styles. You have the style, I say that, it's typical of William Trubridge, where you see a lot of swinging from side to side, a lot of arm movement, rotation, and the head is kind of not really facing the line and very flowy, and it looks very...
in the harmony.
Yeah, and it's a style, let's say. And then we look at a different diver, I think also like Kat Sadurska typifies this, where you see more of the center line of the body is in line with the line, the arms are moving, but then there's very little movement of the torso in relation to the line, and she faces the rope the whole time, and hopefully we'll have some images up on the screen here that you can actually compare these differences. So there you can see that she is activating or has a stronger core in that style. Would you say like one is better than the other, or it's whatever floats your boat?
Definitely, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, because it's very obvious that for William that works. Yeah, and also for Katerina. So, you need to find your style, like you said, if not your technique, especially in free immersion and especially in no fins, because we are so different, and also anatomically we are so different. But it really depends what works for you. But I would say the main goal would be, especially in free immersion, how to use as much muscles as possible in a most relaxed way. And that's very hard. That's very hard. That's challenging. But in the gym, it's like I said before, it's not just about lifting the weights, training in the gym. It's also about the resilience to stress. And also, the body awareness can benefit a lot. And we can connect the mind to the certain points and certain targets in our muscles. So we can just switch them on and we can switch them off. Yeah, so when we do the pull, we can perform it in a different kind of muscle activation. So once we master the connection with mind, with muscles, we can move in a very efficient way. That's what I would say. And that's why, free immersion, it's not just about pulling. Yeah, like you said, you need to come up just with arms.
Okay, so that was free immersion. What's next? Bifins?
Of course, my
your favorite? All right.
Isn't it obvious?
This is probably my. I don't do monofin, but this is kind of not my favorite discipline. Let's say bifins.
Why not?
I think I've had a lot of bad luck with fins, to the point where I ended up diving in plastic fins for like, a long time, and then I did receive a pair of fins from Chetma, the Lotus, and in the first month, they just destroyed my foot because I have a very, very wide foot. So I couldn't really adjust to the foot pockets. In the end, I gave up and I switched to other foot pockets. Anyway, so I'm finally kind of making friends with them because I'm finding that there is a way. But
maybe I have a solution for you.
Yeah, let's see. So let's talk about again the common technique issues and ways to strengthen the technique and specific exercises.
Well, yeah, biofins is definitely my favorite discipline. I just love everything about it. And I love, I don't know, I love how it looks. I love how you can connect all the body, all the muscles to the kick. And it's not just about the kick. And I love coaching people biofins. I love doing workshops in biofins. And I mean, it's so amazing how beautiful it can look. And yeah, the most common mistake I would definitely say is bicycle kick. So performing the kick with bending the knees a lot, with not using the muscles, front line, back line. This is the main challenge, how to even the back line of the body or the back chain and then to the front. So that's the most common. Bicycle kick, not even kick. Of course, the streamline can be a problem, especially in terms of thoracic spine mobility.
Right, you mean in those cases where the diver brings the arms
over
over the head?
Or arrow position. Yeah. Arrow position is maybe more common expression for that.
Most people, in my experience, a majority of people who come to me for training don't have the shoulder or thoracic spine mobility yet to make that position more efficient than keeping their hands by their side.
Yeah, because everything changes. Everything changes. When you lift your arms, hands to the streamline arrow position, everything changes in terms of how we can move. Because of course, if we have arms beside the body, we are completely relaxed here in terms of shoulders, thoracic spine, the back is free, we can move with hips completely free. And once we lift our hands and arms up, of course, in the same second, we are kind of locked, because if we have enough mobility for that, now all of a sudden we need to somehow split the movement from, let's say, ribs above and abs below, So we need to somehow stable ourselves in the blades and the lat muscle, and we still need to move quite freely with the core and then the hips. And the main challenge here is how to transfer the strength from upper body through the hip, through the pelvis, towards the kick. And again, of course, then we need to finish it with the ankle. So if you enjoy doing your dives with arms beside the body, of course, and if that's efficient for you, good. I would definitely tap into that, how to improve the thoracic spine mobility, because it's completely possible. It's of course a lot of work, a lot of mobility drills. We'll show them a few, but it's important not just for biofins. I mean, because my goal is not just to coach all these people, athletes in freediving, just with the goal to perform better. It's also the longevity, and we are normally in humans, we are flexed, in this part. I mean, chest part is tight, our front line is extremely tight, so we aim to stay in that flexed position all the time. So it's really important that we change that. That's why that would be maybe a motivation. So how to get rid of bicycle kick is first gym. Because we need strong legs. It's important. We need strong legs for biofins, because we need to somehow intentionally lock the knee. And we need to start using, for the front part of the kick, we need to start using the quads and the hip flexors, of course.
So usually the the undeveloped or weaker
Yeah.
quadriceps muscles that are gonna is where especially you start to feel the lactate in them.
Definitely. And it's a big
Yeah.
muscle.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
big muscle. Then, of course, we need to learn and we need to teach the body how to use smaller muscle groups also. Yeah, because of course we will consume less oxygen and stuff like that. But of course, hip flexors can play a major role. Also the quads to intentionally lock the knee, and then the ankles. The ankles are extremely important, and how to actually use the foot pocket of the fin, how to press the instep part of the foot, which is that part of the foot, to the foot pocket, and how to use the ankle mobility. So I would say that, of course, chest mobility, shoulder mobility, thoracic spine mobility, it's extremely important, but also ankles. In bifins, if you can't finish the kick with the ankle, then you're losing a big part of the kick. And then on the opposite, we have the back part. We have the back kick, which starts the same millisecond when we finish with the front. So normally what we do, we just do the leg curl. So we just do the knee flexion. We start pulling the heel up, and that's it.
Yeah, and then we lose all the propulsion on the backstroke.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say that word because it's quite aggressive, but it's useless. It's useless, and we are not using our muscles to move properly. So once we start with the back kick, we need to pull the heel back with the glutes, with your butt. So we have a huge butt muscle, it's called glute, and we need to pull the heel back with the glutes and then the hamstrings. And in general, in humans, we are weaker in our backline, and that's the problem. So front line was the backline, it should be 3 to 2. So 3 in terms of front line, and then 2, it's like hamstring. So we are normally extremely weak in our backline at hamstring, so we need to perform a lot of drills in the pool, or not in the pool, also in the pool, but in the gym, for strengthening that back part of the body.
So, so when you say, just before we go on to exercises, you know, obviously as a freediving instructor, we are a big part of like coaching people, and the leg kicking technique is trying to remove this bicycle kick and get them to, let's say, scissor their legs or keep their knees a little bit more. I don't want to say locked,
Exactly,
because what I wanted to ask you if you agree on the point that there's also another mistake that people make is like really obsessing about keeping the knees locked in the most locked position, and this can also cause you to use more energy than necessary. A little bit of a knee bend is
I'm like always, it's not a problem that you bend the knee. It's the problem, I mean, it's the question how you bend the knee. So if you need to perform the front kick with first bending the knee, that's the problem. If you finish, we can show that maybe later in the video. When you finish with the kick with slightly bending the knee, that's something completely different, because that's a whip. Yeah, I call it a whip. And it's not a problem to bend the knee, like you said, because if we intentionally lock the body, then we can't move. We need to stay in the harmony of the water, with the water. That's the whole reason.
It becomes robotic and mechanical.
No, come on. I mean, we need the spiral movement in terms of also
so
using
that
the
little hip rotation,
yeah.
which I think some people also like think, oh, my hips shouldn't be rotating like that. Let's knock it out, right?
No, come on. I mean, if you don't use the hips, why we should use just the legs for the bifins if we can use the whole body? We have a lot of muscles to be used to. So, of course, the hips are important to move, to start with the hip, and then finishing with a bit of a, like, let's say, the slightly bending the knees, slightly, but not to start with bending the knees. That's a huge difference. Yeah.
Coming into the gym then, and how we would train the legs, I guess there's mobility aspects here, there's strength.
Yeah.
What are we doing for to strengthen the legs exercise-wise?
You can literally use all of the lower body exercises for bifins. I love split squats. I love split squats. Why? Because it's dynamic. It's quite dynamic. And
you like Bulgarian split
also, I mean, also that's the mother of all exercises. But why exactly? Because if we are using the Smith machine, let's say the Smith machine in the gym is the one with the barbell, but it's attached.
It's locked into
it's
the frame,
attached. So it's actually guided.
Yeah, it runs up and down the rails.
Yeah,
inside,
so actually it's guiding you how you need to move. By the way, it's okay for some of the exercises, but that's another story. But especially if you can move with different directions, if we can use different muscles, also if we can engage the core when we're doing the legs, we need dynamic exercises because we are not static. We are moving all the time. That's why it's really important also in terms of core exercises that we are doing it in a dynamic way, not just basic plank. Of course, it's nice, but if we just start moving with, let's say, arms, hands with some floor taps or bear crawls or dead bugs, I mean, it's something completely different. So in terms of biofins, split squats, Bulgarians, back squats, goblet squats, which means that you carry the load here on the chest, a lot of RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, for the back line of the body. Hamstring curls, like everything, a lot of variety. That's important.
And mobility from the hips
ankles.
and ankles as well is being able to settle down into a squat in general is something where a lot of people are limited, isn't it? And that's a little bit like the shoulder and thoracic spine issue, is that a lot of people will be discouraged because they can't achieve those movements or positions, but that's where you have to apply yourself for a longer period of time and in a disciplined way if you really want to see an improvement there, right?
Yeah, and you have to know that also some of the exercises are just not working for someone. Yeah, if I have a lot of examples that I planned, let's say, a split squat, or maybe even before we started, they could say like, I hate split squats, and it would be so stupid for me if I would plan 3 different split squats. I mean, it's like, why would you do that? So they don't like it. I mean, if you know stuff, if you know what kind of variety you can give to the athlete, I mean, we have numerous types of exercises. Of course, you need to know what you're doing, but we can find different exercise with the same goal, and you can still target the muscle. So the most important thing is also the execution. Yeah, it's not just, okay, let's go to the gym, and then we are, let's say, performing that gym for 30 minutes, 35, and we are thinking about our dinner or what we need to do and all the tasks we have. No, come on, present, do it in a present way, intentionally, and think about the execution. That's important. But all of the variety of lower body.
Could you say something like, now that we're on legs and we're talking about squats, which I think is a really great example of just a sort of a basic but kind of foundational full body exercise. What about rep ranges, and how is rep range changing maybe over the periodization period? Tell us what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so if we start, let's say, with the base training, let's say that we start in September, like we talked before, we need to adapt on the strength training. So this is how what I start is higher range, which means 10 to 12. Normally, maybe just for a few exercises, I would plan more than that, but never more than 15, because then is also then it's like strength endurance.
Smaller muscles, a
bit
more.
Yeah, and it's strength endurance. I would pick different strength endurance method for that. But like for the start, 10 to 12 would be more than enough. And if we're talking about the RPE, so how hard it is, we always start easy. Let's say RPE 6, RPE 7, which means somewhat hard, and still having like 4 to 5 reps in reserve. And then over the weeks, I would decrease the reps to like 6 to 8. I'm never doing something like maximum strength, which would mean 2 to 4 reps, like extremely high loads, 90 plus, 95% of the 1 RM, which is extremely hard. Maybe with some of them, but I don't have that kind of athletes. So I kind of, it really depends. For some exercises, I would always use 8 reps or 10 or maybe 6. For some of them, maybe 5 to 6. But that depends on the exercise and what I want to achieve, because it's also important what the priorities are with, let's say, the person, and what we want actually, and what's there to be fixed or what to improve. But then I would definitely slowly, because I believe that we need to lift heavy, and like around 6 to 8, after some weeks in the base, definitely. And then also if you would continue with the gym like January, February, March, same. I would stay with lower reps, higher loads, 3 to 4 sets, and then slowly, I mean, when we stop with the gym, I will just stop. Yeah, and if we would, in a case that we would maintain with some circuits, then of course we have higher reps, we have lower loads. Maybe also we do the circuit in a kind of an interval of 30 seconds of work, 10 seconds of less. So yeah, but in terms of base, I would decrease the load and decrease the reps and increase the load.
Yeah, but not a crazy amount. It's not like you're going from 12 reps to 5 rep maxes
in
and
2
stuff
days.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that was bifins, constant weight, monofin.
Yeah.
Something I'm pretty clueless about. But it's definitely your athletes will not be.
Yeah, it's some things are very similar than bifins, especially in terms of gym. But monofin, it's more complicated. Why? Because it's very important the part where to start with the kick. Because with bifins, of course, we still kick with legs. With monofin, it's not that easy because we don't need to, but it's very cool if we can use the upper part also, especially the core. So core, it's extremely important in terms of that it needs to move very gently, very relaxed. We need a lot of mobility. And a lot of kind of a flow movement, and then we need to connect that because we know how the dolphin looks and the dolphin motion, and then we need to connect that through the pelvis and hips. So we need to somehow transfer that strength to that joint, to that joint, and then to the legs. And that's very similar maybe then with bifins because we need to finish it with the whip.
So most common limitations for people in monofin being what?
Transferring the upper and lower body, transferring the strength from upper body to lower body, and how to connect the movement and the motion. That nice, we all know how it looks. That nice motion from the abs, because we need to start just here with the upper part of the ribs where the core muscle starts. And we just somehow need to find that gentleness and a lot of strength, because of course with deeper dives we need to kick more, we need to stay present, and we need to perform a lot of the repetitions. That this is a routine, because when you are doing the dive, when we are performing the dive, this just needs to be a routine. We don't have time to think about the technique.
Right.
That's why it's maybe, of course, all the I'm always connecting the surface drills, even for the bifins, but for the dolphin move, that's really important because we can create a lot of resilience to stress and a lot of kind of a routine movement in the pool. Because we can just we can kick on the front, we can kick on the back, on the surface, because we need to teach the body how to use that motion. So that would be the most challenging part. Legs, of course, we need strong legs. Same. We need an even kick. We need to use quads. We need to use hamstrings. We need to use the ankles. Ankle mobility, it's extremely important to finish that whip because we can get a lot of, like we were talking about the free immersion, let's say. It's not just about the pull. We need to use different muscles. And with the bifins and monofin is the same. We need to finish it with the kick. Yeah. So that's the most challenging part, I would say.
All right, so and then moving on to the pièce de résistance, the no fins. Well, I mean, it's just there's so much. You could dedicate a whole episode to no fins.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe we should invite Katerina Sadurska and Stefan Randing to that conversation. Huh?
2 days ago, Stefan came here. He gave me a bit of a private workshop in no fins and absolutely blew my mind. Pretty much every single aspect of my technique I was able to see. He was able to explain that there's so much to work on and so many key points. So perhaps we're just gonna, just to be precise here, just to use our time wisely. Let's say if we're breaking the no fins down into 3 basic components, right? We have an arm stroke, we have a leg kick, and then we have this recovery
returning part,
preparation between those two. Looking at arm stroke first, what is the main challenge or mistakes or technique issues that you see?
The catch. The catch is the first part of the stroke when we start actually performing the stroke. White, of course, it's very different in swimming, but this is called the catch, and I see a lot of mistakes, or let's say flaws, or challenges, or weaknesses in terms of losing the elbow. So we're not actually catching the water, because the point is that we would catch the water on that part of the arm. So once we start lifting high, we start to actually, it's wide, and then the elbow needs to stay high to catch the water. That's the main challenge. Normally we just lose it. We just lose it, and then we don't have any power. We are way stronger here, especially if we teach the body how to use the lat muscle. Lat muscle is really important for all the strokes and all the pullings. For the stroke, that would be the main challenge. And then when we start returning, of course, we have a lot of styles here, and I'm not an expert of that. And I think that, because you have to know that also in swimming, we differentiate freestyler, or not, let's say swimmers with breaststrokers. So we have swimmers and we have breaststrokers. And I can do the same in freediving. We have freedivers and we have no finners.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's so technical.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot. And I think that styles and techniques are so different in no fins, and everything's good. I mean, it works for them, because we cannot copy. I mean, by fins, it's easier in terms of technique, because it's logical what works. It's logical how efficient we can be with kicks, with proper kicks. In no fins, it's not that easy, because they can find, let's say the returning part, Stefan will find something very easy and something what works for him. It's not the same for Katerina or for William or for whoever. So it's so interesting how all the styles, how all the techniques can work for them. It's complicated. It's a bit complicated, but I would say at the end of it, for no fins, it's really important to not catch the drag. So the drag, it's important, I mean, especially in the pool, to somehow find a way how to avoid that drag and how to stay, that's for the pool more maybe, because it's very different, how to stay as close as possible with the arms when we start returning.
During
it's
that
different
phase
in that.
you're recovering the arms to bring them up.
Yeah, extremely relaxed. So it's always in no fins. I can find it so interesting how we need to always find the balance between being powerful and strong, and at the same time we have that relaxed points in between. We need to, when we finish, it's a complete relaxation, and then again we need to do the kick. So it's relaxed, it's strong, it's relaxed, it's strong. So it's so interesting.
Because it's so demanding physically that if you don't find the little micro spaces where you can completely disengage your muscles, you're gonna use twice as much energy, right?
Exactly.
Which
and
is I think that's where swimmers often misstep with no fins, is in thinking that they're really good swimmers, so they can just power their way through a no fins dive, right?
And it's always what I would maybe what I would find interesting and important is, maybe that's more important for the kick, if we move to the kick now, in what way we are doing the stroke and the kick. So it can be in a progressive kind of a way or regressed, which means that when we start with the pull and when we start with the stroke, it needs to be, we kind of increase the power and increase the speed, so it's a progressively kind of a stroke. So we start easy, because if we start the opposite, if we start very explosive and very strong, we would just push all the water away from ourselves on the sides. And if we start gently, and then we continue stronger, something completely different, because we catch, and then we push. And it's with the same with kick. So the most common, not the most common, one of the, is definitely once we start bringing the heels back, and then the kick, and then we just push. We just push with the whip, and we just actually push all the water away from us on the sides, which is not very efficient. We need to somehow find the water, we need to catch it, on that part of the legs. Then we start with the kick, and the end of the kick is strong and impulsive and not aggressive, but strong, powerful and strong.
Yeah, I think another way to put that is like with looking at the arm stroke, what you mean is that from the top to the bottom there's an increase in intensity through the and speed and intensity through the stroke. I'm not a huge pool free diver. I obviously understand the value of training in the pool. Being blessed to live here in Dahab, it's I can do 90% of my work in training in the depth. But I do feel, and maybe you feel the same way, that it's almost impossible to get good at no fins without spending some time in the pool, learning what it means to catch water with your hand, to catch water with your feet. Because in a pool you can do hundreds or thousands of repetitions to develop that feel, but in depth, how many dives can you do? And with the buoyancy changes and things like that, it's almost impossible, right?
Yeah, I think that I strongly believe in all the pool surface drills, especially for no fins. Especially if I would have to pick one, no fins. And I know it's important for mono and also bifins, but for no fins, I mean, you need to spend, I would say, a lot of time in the pool, especially if you are not a natural. Yeah, because for no fins, I mean, of course you can learn. Yeah, don't get me wrong, you can learn a lot. You can improve a lot in terms of technique. I coach swimmers, they're not naturals in breaststroke, but you can teach them a lot. They can improve a lot in the kicks. But if you are not the natural, so because you have to know that some of them, they have that feel it's in there. It's there. So they know if we start talking about the mobility also for no fins, I mean, it has a major role. Like it's in the ankles. If we are able, for the kick, if we are able to rotate the ankles to that kind of a clap position, so once we start with the kicking, not to the side too much, of course our hips needs to be flexible enough. That's one thing. So we have, if we can actually the problem is the external rotation of the hip, because the kick, it's not coming from the knee, but from the hip. It's the external rotation of the hip with knees close, not too close, but not very wide. So close knees, and then when we finished with the kick, which shouldn't be performed on the side, but more backwards, then that part with the ankles, it's extremely important. So if you have that naturally, that's awesome. I mean, and it's such an advantage.
Okay, and then maybe we can just briefly also say a couple of things about like differences between these disciplines in the pool compared to the depth.
Especially no fins, of course. I mean, no fins, it's such a difference in the pool and in depth. Also, I mean, that part when they return the arms, it's something completely different. Because it's not so much about the drag, it's more about I see it like a jump. So they perform the kick and the returning part of the stroke at the same time. In the pool, I'm not coaching like that. In the pool, I aim for having the streamline position already before the kick.
The kick, yeah.
Because if we start with the kick at the same time when we are still here, then we catch a lot of drag.
That's a huge point, because also that was a mistake that I was making, that I had done not a lot, but some stuff in the pool. And of course, then you get used to coming into a nice arrowhead position, and then, as you kicking when you're in that fully extended point. But it was a revelation to me from Stefan that no, you're going to be kicking on the returning part during the depth. So if you take what you learned in the pool and directly transfer it to the depth, not going to work.
No fins, no, definitely not. But in the pool it's more important because of the drag, of course. And in depth, of course, it's logical that if we wait, then you need more energy for that. So if you do everything the same, then you just kind of a jump, which I understand. Never tried it, if I'm very honest, so that's why maybe it's a bit hard for me to talk, because I believe that what I do, I normally try everything because I want to feel it. It's way easier for me to coach. That's the main difference in no fins. Bifins, not a lot, I would say, less. Of course, it depends on the fins, by fin stiffness and stuff like that, but that's not in terms of technique. Maybe in the pool, the main difference would be that in general, it's very good that we can perform the streamline arrow position. In depth, maybe that's not that crucial. Monofin, I would say in terms of rhythm, yeah, because some of them they perform the glide. Maybe that's the difference, yeah. Because the glide, some of them they use the glide maybe with 2-3 kicks and then they glide. Maybe some of them they just continuously doing it. Yeah, and from free immersion we can skip that.
Yeah, we can skip that. Yeah. Although I do want to give a shout out to Philip, who's in Germany, a Patreon supporter, a guy who's been here for coaching as well, and who, due to post-polio syndrome, doesn't have amazing use of his legs anymore, and has set up a rope in the pool from from end to end, and trains his free immersion in the pool.
You can always find a way.
Yeah, that guy has some amazing training methodology. Working around his condition. Okay, so now we've talked a lot about training. All of this is, once we need to, or let's say, I think you're going to recommend that we track what we're doing, because if we're not able to zoom out at some point and see the biggest picture, bigger picture of our progress over time, then we won't have any reference for the next stage of training. I won't be able to see at the time as well, if our condition is increasing or getting worse. What do you want your athletes to track, and how do they track them?
Like I said, period in women, first thing. So we have a separate spreadsheet for that, and we follow that all the time. That's the first thing. Then, in terms of tracking, I mean, of course, HRV it's important. Of course, resting heart rate it's important. But not that I'm super obsessed with that, I would say, especially when I'm coaching. Of course I ask, of course they somehow, let's say, they need to, but not that they need to report that every day to me or something like that. I just want to actually give them the idea of how they can track themselves. So yeah, if you have the watch, if you're interested in that stuff, because some of them are not. Some of them they just follow their own feelings, and you need to respect that. So you don't, I mean, it's not good that you force people to something you're passionate about, because I am extremely passionate about that, and I love tracking myself because I'm interested in that. Yeah, it gives me also more knowledge, more clarity about how to coach and how to track and how to understand things. But my idea is maybe to teach them how they can spot a danger of burnout, a danger of overtraining. And of course, if you can track your resting heart rate, and if all of a sudden goes up, that's maybe a bit of a, okay, what's going on? Let's check that out. And it's the same with HRV. If it's in baseline all the time, and all of a sudden we have a drop down, okay, what's going on? Are you maybe not healthy? Are you maybe sick? What's wrong? So my idea is that they start tracking themselves, and then that we communicate about that. But I would say period is the most important thing. In men, it's easier. It's easier. And some of them, it's so interesting, some of them they're extremely interested in that, and some of them not like at all. So yeah. And sleep, oh my god, sleep. I would say sleep.
You've been tracking sleep?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, what I would track, it's like sleep, nutrition, and what we just said. Sleep is extremely important, especially in terms of the rhythm we have, and because if we are like in bed one day at 10, one day 11, one day midnight, one day 9, one day 1 a.m., I mean, that's a disaster. So it's really important that we, I mean, it depends what your priorities are, but when it comes to the sleep, for me, that's a major part. Because it's the recovery part. We talked, like you said, we talked a lot about the training, but the recovery part, the sleep part, I mean.
We're coming to the recovery section now. Can I just add, and maybe regarding what you track as well, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but the strength training sessions, like I really feel like if you embark on any strength training program, you need to track your reps, your sets, and your rest times,
of course,
so that you can, there's a principle of progressive overload, that over time we are doing more work or more intensity, that we're not degrading in our performance, but our performance improves. And although it can seem a little laborious and even annoying at first to write down how many reps and sets you do, if you don't do that, you're not gonna remember what you did last time. It's certainly not 3 or 4 sessions ago. And if you can't see yourself, also being able to see yourself, okay, so I did another rep in that exercise today. I did I had a shorter rest period between these 2 exercises, something like this. If you're doing a pool training session, for example, now you can see your progress on numbers and on paper, and that's hugely motivating as well.
It gives you a huge boost, and that's the periodization. Yeah, if now we can just jump back to the first question, that's the periodization. The one thing is that you plan, and the second thing is what's realized. Yeah, so what we did. And of course, for my athletes, I'm using the spreadsheets, and then we just share that on Google Drive, and they need to, I demand that. It's not even a question, because I need a feedback. So if I am adjusting gym weekly or the surface drills weekly, I need a feedback.
Right.
And they need to fill in, they need to write down all the reps and all the sets, all the loads they did. Otherwise, what the fuck? Yeah. So of course that's extremely important. We have apps now, so we have million options to track that. And like you said, it gives you a huge boost. And if that interests you, yeah.
What about recovery then? It's the other side of the coin. We have all of the action and the activity, and often the other side of the coin, which is the inactivity and the downtime, is overlooked. How do we recover best?
Nutrition can help. Proper nutrition can help a lot. And I think in general we are, if I can express myself, with undernutritioned, if that's the right expression, especially in terms of not just calories, but the macros we are using, and proteins have a major role, a significant role in that.
So people not eating enough, but then not eating enough protein.
I would not dive in extremely deep now with the nutrition. I think we have expertise. People from that from that expertise in freediving also. But in general, in training, we are not eating enough proteins, and that's very important. And also with recovery, sleep is the first thing. Sleep is the priority. If you want to perform, go to bed early. If you want to do whatever you want in life, sleep is the most important thing, because the long-term sleep deficiency, it's a catastrophe for the body and for the mind, and we cannot perform. We can have the best nutrition in the world, we can have all the supplements in the world, we can have the best coaches around us, but if you don't sleep, forget it. So that's, for me, that's basic. Of course, supplements, I love supplements. I think that it can contribute a lot to the immune system, but of course the first thing is that the nutrition itself, in terms of macros, the carbs, the healthy food is very relative to say, but
you can eat healthy plant-based diet. You can eat a healthy meat-based diet. You can eat a fish-based diet. But if you're not eating enough and you're not getting, especially as high-performing athletes, if you're not getting enough protein, then you have.
You can, of course, you can choose your diet and everything's all right.
And I think it's important just to make that clear, that we're not advocating for one particular lifestyle diet choice.
Right? Vegan diet, meat diet, whatever it is. If that works for you, we just need to be aware of how many proteins, how many carbs, how many fibers, how many everything we consume every day, and which supplements can help around that. Because go on.
Yeah. So supplements, which ones are you going to be promoting? Let's say mainly.
Creatine first. Proteins, of course, because I'm afraid that especially women, we are not eating enough meat. That's definitely true. Definitely not. Of course, some of them they are. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, that's even more challenging. Not that it's not possible, of course it is, but it's challenging because you need to organize your food, your meal preps, everything a lot more.
Yeah.
Of course, it's easier to eat a steak and you have all of a sudden 40 grams of proteins. But supplements can really help us to support the immune system, to support the body, to support the muscles, and protein powders are really beneficial to add them even in the morning. I mean, if we can aim for like at least 90 to 100 grams per day proteins, that would be a bare minimum. I would, for me, I aim like 2 grams per body weight, per 1 kilo
kilogram,
of a body weight, which is a lot. Yeah, from the theory, from the books, you have the bare minimum is like 0.8,
Right, yeah.
which is
To survive, basically.
to survive.
Yeah,
And the thing is that if I aim for myself 2 grams, of course, I think that's impossible for me because it's a lot. Let's say I'm 70 kilos approximately, so that would mean that I need to eat 140 grams per day, which is a lot. But if I consume like 100 to 120, that's more than enough. So I just set a bigger goal, so then I can catch the bare minimum, let's say, which is 100. So if you can split that to 3 different meals, of course not to consume everything in one meal, like just start your day with like 15, 20, 25 grams. The optimum would be 30, and then lunch 30 again, and then evening 30 grams again. We're close to 100 already.
But I think something that is often overlooked here, and you know what you're highlighting, is that this is all good and well if you are in charge of your own food. If I look around me here, for example, in the Dahab community, if you're eating 2 or 3 times in a restaurant or a cafe, you're unlikely to be getting what you need in terms of macronutrients. So actually being in charge of your own food, cooking at home, having some meal preparation plan as well, because just going into every meal with the intention to have a certain amount of macronutrients is going to be very time consuming and challenging. But if you prepare 3-4 days worth of protein, 3-4 days worth of vegetables, this makes a huge difference, right?
I mean, yeah, it's a huge difference in recovery and also in performance because, like you said, I mean, for me, that's a complete, I mean, it's a
given.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. For me, it's fun but I'm interested. And if you're interested in that, if you can find some joy with that, you can learn a lot. That's one thing. But we just need to be aware of what does it mean if you're not eating, let's say, enough proteins because of the muscle breakdown. So we can perform like a very good session in the gym with a very nice session, like 4 sets, a lot of high loads and blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of forget to eat because this can happen. And like, what did you do with that? So you didn't give the food back to your muscles, so your muscles cannot even perform the next day. So it's a huge difference. And yeah, of course, supplements. I mean, creatine. That's the most important thing.
Creatine, protein powders, anything else?
Omega-3, I would say. And of course, I have some vitamin C and all this stuff for just to support the immune system. Of course, vitamin D, it depends, but I don't believe that we get it enough from the sun or whatever.
Yeah, we're probably okay here.
Yeah, but let's say but normally, let's say for European people or Western people, if we spend our winters in Europe or whatever, we need to consume vitamin D, and we need to start in August and with a lot of it because
And then some things like some people are really into sauna, ice bath, foam rolling.
Cool.
Anything that you think is disadvantageous or all is good in the right place, right time?
Yeah, I would. I mean, cold plunges are very popular, and it's with a reason. And I don't see any reason not to do it.
Are you aware about the science around strength training and ice baths?
Yeah, I tried it also on myself. The main thing maybe we need to be aware is the gender difference. Yeah, so for women, actually we in terms of what we get from that, in terms of the results, I don't know if the perform is a good word for that, but we would get more benefits from cool water, not cold water, which would be around 15, 16 degrees, by the way, not 0 to 2. Why? Because we have better skin receptors for it, and also the menstrual cycle phase plays a huge role in that. So that would be one thing that we should start exploring more, because all of the science behind that was, of course, performed in men, and they just did all the science like in men gender. That's one thing, but it's very beneficial. It's very beneficial. Also, in kind of in terms of strength, of course, it's a difference. I mean, we can get very detailed here. Yeah, very professional and very detailed, especially for cold plunges, because sometimes to adapt on the, let's say, stronger impulse in the gym and in the muscles, it would be okay to stay, let's say, inflamed a bit more, to keep that inflammation high, but that's very detailed. Yeah, that's very detailed. Yeah. In terms of recovery, I also felt it on myself. It helps a lot. Yeah. So, but just maybe discover that it's not the same for men and women.
That last point there, a little bit, that the idea being that if you did a cold bath, the latest science is even more reinforcing this idea that if we have the cold plunge or ice bath too soon after the strength training session, it will blunt the adaptive inflammation response. So I like with all the other workouts in our training, planning the right time for this is maybe not crucial, but eventually it can be quite important.
Timing is important, and it's just if you're interested in that, you can just discover that actually. You can explore a bit more.
All right, cool. I think with regards to special attention for female athletes and menstrual cycle, I think we covered it already.
I think that we just need to be aware of that we are not women are not small men. This quote comes from Stacey Sims, and I would encourage all the women out there interested in training, interested in women training, that they take a look. She has 2 books, and it's incredible, and she is like using her time like and super focused on all the training aspects in women and how important it is also in perimenopause and menopause. And thanks God we are having that conversations finally after years of not having them. And we just need to be aware of that we are not the same, and all the science, even when I was studying, which is like 10 years ago, it's like everything was on men. So all the science, all the researchers, just like men data. So thanks God we are here. Thanks God we are talking about it. Thanks God we are talking about the period like everything's normal. And I would encourage all of them. Also, all of the coaches, freediving coaches, because I can imagine that all the instructors and coaches, especially in professional freediving, I mean,
and that brings us on to pretty much our last topic, which is just we're talking a lot about what you can, should, might do as an athlete or trainee, but as a coach, as an instructor, but especially as a coach, some advice towards spotting weaknesses in athletes, how to motivate and encourage your athletes. Any thoughts on that?
I would say that we need to start listening more. We're just talking all the time. Yeah, we're just talking like when we coach, we just talk, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. Sometimes we can just shut up and we can just watch a bit, we can observe a bit, we can observe how they move, how they perform, how they feel. And once we start asking questions like, how was it? How did you feel that? No, we can get all the answers actually. So when we start listening to our athletes or freedivers or you name it, we can get a lot of ideas. What's next? What's our next step? What to give them? Okay, you felt that weird. Okay, let's try that. So sometimes we just need to shut up a bit and step away, or maybe step back a bit and ask them a few questions, and then all of a sudden you get all the answers how to coach.
I really love that. I think that's amazing, and
Yeah.
something that I've been doing this now for 8 years, teaching 7, 8 years, and it was a long, slow process to learn that ability to kind of step back and listen more.
Yeah, we have, of course, we have the system in our mind how to coach. Even if you coach for either 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. Whatever you coach, of course, we have the system, what we need to do. We have the tasks, we have to-do list, what's next. But
listening is the most powerful tool
we
here,
talk too
right?
much.
Yes. Okay, good. All right, let's jump into the desert island questions. You can finally just kind of let go of your coach and training mode and brain, and I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
Alrighty.
This is for the Patreon supporters. Say thank you for supporting the podcast, and absolutely amazing to have you guys on board. A little treat for you. All right, so describe your ideal morning routine. All right, Tia, thank you for answering the Desert Island questions, and thank you to the patrons for supporting the podcast. And finally, not finally, the last question, the traditional last question, might be a little bit weird for you. We'll come to that in a second. Tell us if somebody wants to find out more about you, where do they go? And also, what are you offering in terms of coaching, remote coaching, and that kind of stuff? Because you offer some kind of service like that, don't you?
Yeah, so you can easily find me on Instagram, on my profile, Taya Kinesiology, and my page is building slowly and steadily. That's it. I am offering remote coaching, especially strength preparation, and with a combination with surface drills I'm doing. So that would be it. And also worldwide, or let's say Europe-wide, I'm doing workshops. So yeah, if you just follow my profile, you'll see what's next in the next months. When I'm in Dahab, I am offering private sessions in the pool, in the gym, and also some open water, but completely focused on technique stuff, sessions. That's what I'm doing here mostly. And that would be it.
Okay, good. We'll link to all of that in the video, and if you are listening to the audio version, if you go to the show notes, if you go to the show notes on the freedivecafé.com website or the truedepthfreediving.com website, you'll find all that there. And then finally, I'll just ask you the question. Okay. Why do you freedive?
Oh my God. Like I said before, I don't know, it's something there which I find it very interesting, especially from my point of view, from my reality. I'm not interested in becoming one, like a freediver, because I love what I do. I love the process of it. I love to stay behind that. I love to stay the brain behind the freediver. And I just think, why? Maybe, you know why? Because I think that we still have a lot of capacity to improve. I mean, we have so much potential, and maybe I'm interested in that, in how to master the movement in the water in a very extreme conditions. And I think I was always interested in that, because it's a bit of a mystery. Because it's never the same. It's not a random sport. It's a unique sport, and I think that why. Because I love how I can connect the movement, and I'm very interested in movement, and I'm interested in human performance. And I think freediving, it's a field that human performance can be mastered in a massive way. And I think that we still have, like I said, a lot of capacity, especially in terms of movement, how to move efficiently, how to perform with the body in the harmony with water and stuff like that. That's why, I don't know, something's there, a sparkle.
Nice.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it.
Done.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was fucking great.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah.